husband and I literally shocked and traumatized at what had happened to Charlie. He said, we need to just get some peace. We need to catch our breath. We're going to go away somewhere. And I thought it was a good idea because I couldn't think straight. I really couldn't think straight. I was so upset, and so was he. And it was his idea. He said, sweetheart, let's go, just get away. We're going to just get away somewhere so we can have some time to think.
Okay, so your testimony is that you weren't trying to go to Vietnam because you wouldn't be able to be extradited from there.
So my husband actually had said, we've been to Vietnam before with friends. We were on vacation, and it really was like a place of peace. And so he said, if we go to a non-extradition country, then if the law enforcement decided that they wanted to arrest you or me, or whatever, both, he said, we won't be sitting in a foreign prison waiting months to go back. We could buy a ticket and we can go home. And my understanding was that I could go home and I could turn myself in if that's what they wanted.
Okay. But you were hoping to make it out of America in time before you were arrested, right?
I wanted to get away. He wanted to get away. That's what we wanted to do. And it wasn't, we spoke to our attorneys. I asked them, they said there's no pending. We purposely called them to make sure it was legal to do it. And they said there's no, what were their words? There's no pending charges and there's no warrants. So you want to go. And so I thought you asked your attorneys and they tell you that. I'm going.
But Dan did tell you, as you say in the jail call, that knowing what they're thinking up there, I don't know if you'll make it out in time. I really don't. But that he said you might, or you might get to the airport and they'll stop you. It could happen.
That's what he said.
Right. So you went to the airport knowing that it could happen. They could stop you at the airport. You could end up being arrested.
Yeah, that's what Dan said.
Right. And when you were looking at places to go those couple of days after Charlie Adelson's trial, you were specifically looking, though, for countries that did not have extradition with the U.S.
For the reason I just told you.
Right. And the reason that you're saying that you were looking for countries with no extradition was so that you could get back faster in order to be arrested in the U.S.
No, that's not what I said. It's because, I don't know, maybe we watch too much TV or too many movies, but I've seen movies where people are stuck in like third world prisons and waiting and waiting and waiting. And my feeling was, this is not what we want to happen. If the state says they want us to come back, we'll buy a ticket. We'll come back on our own terms. We don't have to be sitting in a jail somewhere. We'll come back home and turn ourselves in.
Couldn't you have done that no matter what country you went to?
No.
You couldn't have found out that you had a warrant for your arrest and come back if there was an extradition policy?
Well, not if they would. I'm not in law enforcement, but it appears that they would notify law enforcement in that country, and then they could hold you in a jail for God knows how long. And I didn't want that to happen. So he said, well, that's why we'll do it this way, honey. That way, if they do notify us, so we got a phone call from our attorney or from law enforcement, then we'll buy a ticket, we'll go home.
Okay.
And so it would have been on our terms. That was the point. That was the reason that he thought that was a good idea.
And your
Before you continue, Ms. Dugan, we are over time. If you please can get to your most pertinent questions.
Yes, sir. I guess your testimony ultimately, though, is that you were not trying to go to a country with no extradition because you were trying to avoid being held accountable for this charge. That's your testimony?
Being held, I didn't do this.
Okay.
being held accountable for this. This is not what happened.
Being arrested for this case.
Being arrested,
Right. That was not what you were trying to avoid by trying to go to a non-extradition country.
we're trying to get our heads on straight and just breathe.
That's all I have. Thank you.